a written production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.
Is this on? All right, perfect. All right, everybody, thank you for your patience. We appreciate it. For those of you who were at the prior board meeting, you understand why we're running just a little bit late, but it actually worked out well. We're only about 15 minutes late. So thank you for your attendance. Thank you all for all the participation in the on-site meetings with PAI here. Most of you guys know who Lon is. Right, so you've all seen him many, many times, some of you. So thank you for that. At this point, you can see that we're draining the lake, but Mother Nature is fighting us. The last rain we received here on site was 2 inches, and that doesn't include runoff. So that is not allowing us to drain the lake as fast as we can. So you guys have probably noticed that. And these guys, Corey and Lon, will start going into that. So with that, I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to hand it off to Corey, and he's going to give you some more information.
Good afternoon. Corey Severson, Pacific Aquascape. So our original schedule that we shared with you and RCSC back in March had us actually starting work in the lake today. So October 27th was the time frame of when we thought we were going to start, and we're not ready to do that yet. There's still about 3 feet of water in most of the lake. The lake is relatively flat, except for the bay that's between Tantera and Canapali. That arm of the lake is about 3 feet deeper than the rest of the lake. So there's about 6 feet of water in that corner of the lake. Roughly still 30 million gallons of water that's out there. So we need to get rid of that, and that's going to delay our start date. With the shorelines that are exposed are on a side slope, and it's too difficult for us and not efficient for us to start the removals. But we do intend to be in the lake, or right now, the way it looks, we're hopeful to be in the lake around the 21st of November. Is the date that we're targeting right now. And in order to make that happen, we have to get rid of enough water to be able to work from the bottom. On our schedule basis, we're tracking on kind of every other event. We have materials that are going to start to show up next week, which will be the liner. The first of the liner will start to show up next week. We have other shoreline materials and things that we're bringing together. And so from a material side, that is happening. We have Bill thanked you for the meetings, and we do appreciate meeting with each of you in your yards and looking at the work that there is to take place. We've kept notes. We have notes of all of that. We're happy to have conversations with you again as we get into physically working along your back property line. So if at any time you want to engage with us or talk to us, we're open to doing that. And we would encourage it so that we don't want any misunderstandings. We want to be clear. We don't plan on working in your backyards. We're not going to be in your backyards. We're going to be working from the lake side, except in a few isolated conditions where we have the tree issues and the tree removals. Those would be areas that we'd have to get into a couple of feet of your yard. But for the most part, we will be and we will be coming at it from the lakeside in every case. So we have, is the video information that we had available? I don't know if we want to share that list just to look at it, or if you want to share this. So we have a schedule. It tracks, it tracks through the work, and it's still broken into what we call a phase 1, a phase 2, and a phase 3 area, and it still appears to us that that's the logical way to approach the job. Phase 1 and phase 2 at this point will clearly be the Lake View Basin and the Cameo Basin. That side of the lake will go first, and the side towards 103rd, where the water's deeper, will go last. So looking at, kind of the plan, we had shown phase 1 to be over next to 103rd, but that will definitely be phase 3 now because of that depth issue. And so our goal is to get the lake down to the 9-foot level, which is 3 more feet of water has to come out. And then once that happens, virtually all of the bottom from the park towards what is that, Del Webb Boulevard and Cameo, that whole section of the lake will be dry. There's a couple of little low spots, but they're minor in terms of how they'll hold water. So we'll get that out, and at that point, we'll be ready to go. And so if we go back to the schedule, what happened basically by starting roughly a month late, it delays us a month and pushes the unless we can figure out how to make up time, which we always try to do. But right now we show filling the lake on May 15th, and that used to be around April 11th or something like that, I think. It was the old schedule. So that's the current plan, is to start filling the lake on May 15th, which has, our estimate has the lake full by about mid-July, the lake would be full. And there's a lot of other competition for water once we start to fill the lake at that time of year. So we'll have to see if we can commit that much water to filling the lake versus keeping landscaping going and the rest of that stuff. But that's just kind of a high level schedule. It still starts with, we will start with, as the lake drains up. We haven't had much odor issues, and if we're going to have odor issues from the lake, they're going to happen as the rest of the water comes out and as we start to expose the big flat bottom. So there is a potential for that. We have enzyme materials that we have ready to treat that soil, which should minimize that. In my experience, the wind always helps us, and the still days are where our problems are at. As long as we have wind and a breeze, the odor issues don't seem to be as much of a problem or have complaints, but certainly we're aware of that, and so we know we're going to be paying attention to that. If any of you have issues or comments about it, we want to, please let us know, because we're not out and we don't live on this side of the lake, you all do. And so we are aware and we do look at it and we are monitoring it, but your input would be helpful for us so we can get ahead of it and not get behind it. There are still some fish in the lake. We pulled most of the fish out back in July, and we need to get a little bit more water out before we go back and make another attempt at it. We thought that might be the next 2
weeks.
Probably about 2 weeks from now, somewhere in that time frame, to get the last of the fish out of the lake. And so there's still that's open. So those are kind of the bigger topics of kind of what we have going on and what we've been looking at. Lon, do you have anything else that I missed?
No.
So we do have, I guess I wanted to, if you can show the schedule, so we have this Excel worksheet that has each lot number has the, the different items that could affect, that may be an issue in terms of your yard, like whether there's a fence, whether you have pavers or concrete on the exterior side of it, what the situation with the boat docks are, what we think we're going to do with the boat docks, is there electricity on the docks, what trees, rocks, we've tracked each of these things on a lot by lot basis, and so we have, and we've maintained, this record. So this is our master file. I think we've told you before, we don't refer to your lots by your address because it's a big, long number and it's a lot to keep track of. Instead, we went around and we numbered each of your properties, starting at the lawn bowling facility and going clockwise. We ran around the lake, and so we have lot 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way around the lake. And so we're going to have those numbers on the inside so that when we look at the lake from the inside, we know we're on lot 4 or 5 or 10 or whatever that number is. And that's how we track them. So that's our schedule and our document, and it has all of our notes and all of our records inside of it. So we've tried to be organized in terms of how we have the information and make sure we have it available, what we agreed to with you and what we plan on doing, so that we, again, if and when you want to talk about it, we have our records and we're happy to go through it with you again. I think that's all I have at this point, unless there's, Bill, you want me to cover anything else, or?
Nope. No, I think that's a good summation of where we're at today, so I'm going to open up to the floor for Q&A. So if you want to come up to the microphone so that we can all hear you, or, okay. Yeah, sure, go ahead. I'll repeat as you, oh, there you go.
Okay, the last thing we heard that you were still pretty much on schedule. The lake would be drained by November 1st, if you had to pump it out. Are you excluding pumping it out, or?
We have pumps set up. There's a pump on Cameo. We've experienced several problems with that pump and that pump setup that have delayed us along with the rain. So it's not just rain that slowed us down. The pump has to be timed to the Gulf irrigation operations of the wet well. And there's a float mechanism that's been giving us some problems. So that pump has operated, that pump has run. It's run for extended period of time. It's not running today because of the float problem that we have. But yes, we have to pump to get rid of the rest of the water.
Are we going to pump any in the water trucks and then deliver it somewhere else, Dawn Lake or wherever?
No, it's being used. The water is being used.
For the golf course.
It's being used to irrigate the golf course.
Correct.
Yeah.
Are you doing any work today as far as the lake goes? We saw something on the east side of the lake by the 103rd Street side.
Yes.
They did some jackhammering this morning.
Yes, that was
Very early, by the way, but go ahead.
that was some prep work to start pumping water to Dawn Lake. We needed to do some prep work over there. I hope they didn't start before 7. I told them not to.
Sorry about that.
Just a couple more questions about why it's taking so long to get that water level down. It dropped, 5 to 7 feet fairly quickly.
Yes.
Okay, what's going on? I mean, you said you had some pump problems.
So in our estimation, most of the seepage and loss is obviously occurring in the upper areas of the lake. So the first 5.5 feet went relatively quickly. Evaporation in July and August is roughly a foot a month. So we've lost 2 feet of water to evaporation in July and August. September's around 9 inches. So 2.75 feet was lost to evaporation. The estimate was that the seepage loss was about a foot a month, round numbers, based on studies that RCSC had done over time. And so we think we lost 2 or 3 feet of water to seepage, and all of that tied together through that July, August timeframe. There were a couple of storm events in that period of time. They weren't significant, but they still were storm events, and there are street drains, so it's not just water that falls on the lake, but it's water that falls in the drainage area that drains into the lake, that then every time it rains, it sets us back. And so in this particular cycle, monsoon season, it's been wetter and produced more water than in past years. And just a couple of weeks ago, we had a 2-inch rainstorm that we basically lost 3 weeks of pumping. That's when our pumping equipment was working, and the lake went nowhere. And so it's a combination of the less seepage loss at the deep water areas, so we're not really losing anything to seepage right now. And the only way to get rid of water now is to pump it into the golf course for use.
And if I could add, unfortunately, we missed the overseed, which is where we use quite a bit of water, so the pumping system was not working quite the way it should have during overseed. And the other thing is this Maricopa, this was the 24th wettest monsoon season since 1860. So it's just a collection of different events that has got us delayed by a month. But if we're up and running by July, I'm still pretty happy with that. And I think we're going to do some things to move this quicker as well. So.
Okay. Well, that would be appreciated. Who owns the pumping equipment? Is that leased, rented, yours?
We're renting it.
Okay. Rental company doesn't have any other equipment?
No, it's not that. It's communication equipment to be able to the wet well on the golf course that pumps water to the golf course irrigation system is relatively limited. It's small. And it pumps the water out quickly, and so it wants to be replaced quickly, instantaneously. And so our temporary pump sits over on Cameo Road, several hundred feet away, and so there was just some timing issues in getting it to cycle together, and there was some automation that needed to happen in some floats. The initial floats got caught up and got twisted around, and it's kind of one thing after another. You lose 2 days here, you lose 3 days here to 2 different things with the float arrangement. And so that's where the problem has been, because the two have to communicate closely with each other in order to meet the needs of the golf course, because they have to be able to they have to be able to put the water down, and they have to be able to make that happen. So that's been the problem with the transfer pumping.
Hang on one second. They're coming. The cavalry's coming. It was a long morning. I used that mic too much myself.
Thank you. I got to remember where I was. You mentioned there was a timing thing between the pumps and the golf course demand. So there was some timing there, and the floats and all that stuff. So when do the golf courses get watered? It's a pretty set time. Is that watered every night? Okay. Can't you put somebody on those pumps to be there when they need water? Turn it on, turn it off.
We wish it worked that way, but that's not how the system is set up in terms of the clocks and the different things that are going up. But we're working with the golf course staff to make that happen as best we can.
So I will tell you that our staff has worked many extra hours in the evening trying to, get the synchronization to work. So it's not like we're not trying.
Okay. You had some spreadsheets up there. Is that something that you can publish for us so we can get a copy, or we can ask for a copy somehow, some way?
Which spreadsheets did you show?
I mean, I'd like to see what you have listed for our.
Yeah, we had the schedule we had up there, and then we had our working notes.
I would not publish the individual meeting notes by homeowner, but I don't have a problem with putting the, sending out the schedule that was just presented, if you guys don't have an issue.
Yeah, not a problem for me.
I'm not terribly concerned about the schedule. I'd like to see what your notes are related to our property.
We're happy to share the notes with your particular property.
Okay, that'd be great. I'd love to see that.
We should, I'll get with Mike and we'll work out how we have the distribution, because we probably want to distribute them to all the property owners, not just, we want to get them to you too.
Yeah, we'd like to be sure that what we heard and what you've recorded are accurate.
Makes sense, yeah.
Just seems like a good thing to
Yeah,
do.
and then that, we would like to understand if there is a difference of opinion in terms of what you thought you heard and what we thought we heard.
Sure, and since the meeting we had, I've got another idea of what might be done with our dock, for example.
Okay.
It may make it easier for you, both on the removal and the reinstall.
Okay.
So, okay, thank you.
Hi, Brian Bailing from Dawn Lake. Concerned about what I just heard a few minutes ago. Could you please explain?
What you heard about what?
Getting some water sent to Dawn Lake, I think he said it.
Transferring water to Dawn Lake, yes, has always been one of the options on transferring water.
And that's an option that Bill had told our president was not going to happen. Bill, do you have a comment on that?
Well, at the initial phase, we said we weren't going to have two pumps. We felt that we could use one pump over to our lakes golf course, but at this point, to facilitate, we may have to pump water into Dawn Lake.
How do you see that happening?
Through the same fill system that you currently get, that Dawn Lake currently gets water from. It's all connected. There's a piping system.
I'm aware of the piping.
Okay, so using that same pipeline.
So to come into our lake to replace the well water coming in.
Yes. It would use the well pipeline.
I don't have a comment on that right now.
Quick question, if we need to, in particular, need to talk to Lon, how's the best way to contact you to follow up if we have questions on?
The phone number on the bottom of your letter that you
Okay.
got, just call that and then she'll schedule a meeting.
Okay, very good. The other question, are we still waiting for permits?
No, we have
All
permits.
permits in place?
Yeah, they were issued, we had permits issued in around August 20th, somewhere.
Okay.
Trying to wait my turn. I would like to know about the mosquito problem, and will the weather just eventually resolve that problem, the mosquitoes?
We don't believe the mosquitoes are a result of any water in the lake.
It's stagnant water.
Right, but the lake is 30 acres, and that's not considered a mosquito bed.
Okay.
Mosquitoes generally are in buckets or very small stagnant ponds of water.
Okay.
So we don't believe it's a lake issue, but we do have our aquatic consultant look at that on a regular basis. He's out here every single week, and we have him, looking at that and paying attention to that. He's the one who tells us the mosquitoes aren't from the lake. It's not me, it's him. But we are. Are you having a particular different issue than you've had before with mosquitoes?
Yes, this is the first year we've ever had a problem with mosquitoes.
Okay, then it's also, again, this year we've had quite a bit of rain, but we will make sure that we redouble our efforts in terms of looking for mosquitoes and what we can do.
And would you please explain to us again about the The water that you've got reserved to fill the tank up, it's my understanding that you had certain amount allocated already,
I'm sorry.
the lake being filled.
I can address that. So I've made you can, through the management plan, request an exception for refill of the lake when you do repairs and maintenance, and I've done that already.
Okay, so it is allocated already.
Correct. We have additional water. It hasn't been approved yet, but it takes a long time. It's just a matter of them approving it. So yes, we will have additional water to refill the lake.
And it's my understanding that you're taking the cement berm off?
Yes.
You're replacing that?
Yes.
Why can't the work start on that while because you've got a lot of land there that to work?
The concrete that's coming off of the edge has had two options of where to go. One, it could be removed and hauled to a landfill, and there was a cost and expense with that. The other was to use it. The decision was made to use the old shoreline as fish habitat. When we build fish habitats, we typically buy cobble and rock materials, and a lot of times use broken concrete and concrete pipes for fish habitat structure in the bottom of the pond. And so as a cost-saving measure, and it was round numbers, $250,000 worth of cost savings to leave the concrete on site and not haul it off. But we can't handle it multiple times. So as you break it and demolish it, we're going to move it to the bottom of the lake, and then we have to pick it up and move it one more time to move it into the fish habitat. But the way the lake is currently set up, if we started breaking the concrete up now, there's no place to put the broken concrete because the lake's full of water.
Okay, thank you.
Hi. Nadine Meese, 47945. Do you have a county permit yet?
Yes.
Good. Do you have Plan B if you can't get the lake drained?
Oh, I'm sorry, what do we have what?
Do you have a Plan B in case you can't drain the lake?
We have options in the lake bottom to transfer water from one half of the lake to the other using a temporary dam that we've been looking at.
Okay. There was a pipe, I spoke to Lon about it. There was a pipe coming in to the lake over by Cameo Bridge that you weren't sure where that pipe was coming from or going to, and we discussed that, Lon. Did you find out where that pipe is from?
We believe it's coming off of Del Webb Boulevard.
On the street drains?
Yes.
The 8 street drains? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, that's the logical thing. We haven't been able to confirm it. Nobody seems to know what it is.
Yeah, it's pipes all over.
Somebody spent a lot of money on it, and it's a big pipe, and the logical conclusion is it's a drain line.
We spend a lot of years trying to find where those drains come in and where this pumped out to go up to the upper little lake.
Yeah.
Used to be that system. You could fill the upper lake from the Viewpoint Lake, and there's still pipes underground going up there. And I discussed that with Lon, too.
The lake in the park? Are you talking about the lake in the park, or what lake are you talking about?
The upper lake. When Sunland Well broke down, then we could pump water from Viewpoint Lake up to that front little lake and keep those lakes on the golf course full. Those pipes are still underground.
Okay.
I think they've been disconnected when they put the big tanks underground many years ago.
Okay.
Well, I've been here for 28 years, so it's a long time ago. Okay. They're scavengers. I don't know. No one seems to pay attention to the scavengers. The coyotes and the great blue herons are cleaning up around. You know, it's really nice. They're catching anything they're dragging out of there, and they bring it up on our lawns and eat it nicely and leave the remains, which collects a lot of maggots. But anyway, they're cleaning up the lake. But not our
I'm
lawns.
more than happy to come out and clean those up if somebody wants to make the call. I've already done it.
Well, what now you tell me? I had to put those in the garbage can.
I've been on that job already. Sorry,
thanks, Lon. Swan report. I'm sure you really need to know Swan Report. I went down there the other day. They're down at Holy Cross Cemetery on Thomas, 99th and Thomas. They love it down there. They have their own little pond, all fenced in, grass all the way around. They're looking good. And I thought, well, they won't even remember me. And I got there and I said, Cameo, Gina, boing. Their heads went up. Where's she? In other words, I could have said lettuce and they'd been there. Okay, but I go there with lettuce and I feed them, and they're just delightful. They love it down there. And I don't know if I told all the homeowners, I sold them. I sold the swans to Holy Cross Cemetery. They're too old to move again to come back in here. And if the walls are walkout walls, we can't have swans again. And you can buy a new pair for $5,000. You can buy a mating pair for $5,000, or 2 females for $3,000. So we have enough money, everybody, if you want swans again. But I'm not going to be swan lady anymore. Okay, thanks. I loved our swans. Okay, I think that's all I have. Oh, can I do an advertisement? There's a Viewpoint Lake homeowner picnic coming up, everybody, okay? I hope you've got that information. That's 11/12, November 12th at 5 o'clock, okay, at Lakeview. So I hope that you ever
Are we invited?
vote.
It's the 15th.
Who votes? Huh? Oh, it's potluck. Yeah, you bring all the food, you can come.
Okay. We see what Corey and Lon can brew up here for us.
Okay, thank you.
It's the 15th.
So it is the 15th, just to clarify, it's the 15th.
What process do you use to demolish the wall?
It'll be a track excavator. I don't know if you'll have a breaker. He's probably just using a bucket. Yeah, so it'll just be a regular track excavator with a bucket. And the wall's in pretty bad shape. I don't know if you've looked at it in any detail, but it's pretty much cracked and broken in almost every area. It'll be a little bit of work to start the very first piece of removal, but after that, it'll come out in. We're hoping it comes out in kind of slabs.
Okay.
So we don't think there's a whole lot of breaking. It's more
What's
just
your projected time for getting around the lake?
the entire way around the lake.
Yeah.
It goes in different
So you're going to go phase 1, phase 2, and then
chunks or
phase
whatever.
3?
But
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
how long does it take you to go through? What I'm looking for is when might I expect you to get to phase 3? So if I want to be gone when you're coming by our place.
we show right now we're showing phase 1 demo shoreline not starting until sometime in mid to late February.
Okay, and then to go through 1/3 of the lake?
So the phase 3 area, the way we have it on schedule, starts January 30th and is done on May 1.
January 30th to May 1.
So basically February, March, April, 3 months.
There will be some light jackhammer work and some target saws running every now and then too. So,
Okay,
and we do start at 7.
all right. Okay, thank you.
I'm Earl Howie, 13833 North Buccaneer Way. First, I have an announcement that may be of interest to the other Lakeshore homeowners. I have contracted with a company called Docks R Us to reconstruct the dock at the end of your project. And it was a little bit of research to find them. If any other homeowners need a reference for a dock builder, they can contact me and get that information to talk to them. Secondly, how could that contractor get to somebody that he can see what the cement berm around the lake is going to look like, so that he knows what he'll be faced with in building the docks?
We have those plans and details now, so Mike, is there a way we can distribute that, or we can distribute just we can give you a detail?
Well, I remember during info session 1 or 2, you showed some cuts of the
so we have the information.
Shoreline, so we have the certainly have that.
Yeah.
We have the full, I have the whole drawing set that shows in more detail, but it would be, I don't want to send out the drawing set.
We can prepare just a shoreline exhibit and make it available. I don't know how you want to distribute it, I guess is what I was asking.
I guess we'll distribute it as best we can with the emails that we've used to try to get these homeowner meetings scheduled.
And we're happy to talk to your dock builder because and we don't have a problem with the dock builder working on the dock as long as from the inside of the lake as opposed to from your backyard. He might prefer to do that, but he has to coordinate with us. He can't just show up and start working on the dock. But we're happy to coordinate with him.
Who should he talk to?
Lon White.
Pardon, who?
Lon White, LONWHITE.
And phone number or?
What phone number?
714-514-8848.
Okay, his name is Rod Jones, and I'll pass that on to him to contact you.
Can I get his number too? Do you have it?
Yeah. It's 480-993-8169.
So might I suggest, before you do any work to create some document, maybe you just give them a call and see what they want directly?
Yeah, I'm going to call him. I'm going to reach out to him.
Perfect. Thanks, Lon.
So, okay, thank you.
Emma Gina Ida, 11631. In your last meeting, you had mentioned that you were going to eliminate the sand that you were going to put in the bottom of the lake. It was going to be like 5 inches. Would there be any good if we had less sand in the lake to protect that liner? Evidently, it was a cost issue.
It's not striking a bell with me in terms of what.
We never had the intent to cover the liner with any type of material.
Oh, I guess I misunderstood.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the lake section is a liner on top of the prepared subgrade, and the subgrade is the existing lake bottom. The existing lake has a liner in it, and so it's always been our understanding that the soils will be suitable to place liner on them, and it's a typical installation to go directly on top of the native soils, and so that is the design intent, is to prepare the subgrade, ensure that it's prepared properly, and then put the liner directly on top soil.
Okay, thank you. I must have misunderstood.
Can you give me an estimate of approximately, let's say, per 100 feet of shoreline, how long you would be working in front of a house? I mean, I don't know if are you going to be digging for a week or 2 weeks?
Well, so it'll go in a consecutive kind of phases. So as we start in one spot, we'll start most likely pretty close to the boat ramp on 105th Avenue, and we will be going around most likely going around the perimeter of the park would be the first area we work, and all the way across the front of Viewpoint, and then over to the lots that are, I don't know the name of I can't remember the name of the street over there. But as we get there, we will be first just breaking the concrete. And so as we go past your house, we're just going to keep working our way down and breaking concrete. Once we get all the concrete out of the way, we also will be working on removing and cleaning up the liner. We have to pull the old liner out. The landfill doesn't want They prefer it to be dirt separated from a bunch of broken pieces of liner, so it's our job to go through and, as best we can, pick that stuff out. And so we do that, and then we will be stockpiling materials off the bottom. There's a lot of debris and rubble, and we expect to start finding more silt and like lake sludge type of material as we get towards the bottom more. That material all is going out and going to disposal. We have soil sampled the material, and we have it's currently accepted to go into the Glendale landfill is where the material is going to go. And so we've coordinated that with the Glendale landfill, and we're in the process of finalizing that, but we've been working on that for a while. But that material gets stockpiled and sits. All the demolition materials have to leave the site dry. They can't leave wet. And so we have to wait until they get dry enough that we can put them in the back of a truck, and then the truck will haul them out. So as we go by and prepare the grade along your house, that material is going to sit in a number of piles and things across the lake floor. And that's why we're waiting to get the rest of the water out so that we can have complete access to the lake floor. And so there'll be a number of piles of debris material all across the bottom, waiting until it's dry enough. Then we'll load trucks, that material will leave. Once that's all cleared, then we have to come by your lot and regrade the slope. So once we get all this material out of the way, we'll regrade the slope. And then during that regrade the slope phase is when the docks will be removed. As we're regrading the slope, that's about the same time frame, somewhere in there is where the docks will be removed. Any dock that we have that'll be in our way. So we'll get them out of the way, and then regrade the slope. And then once the slope is all gone and set up, the lake liner will be installed on the slopes, and then concrete pretty much immediately follows that. And so the concrete goes in, we basically place 100 to 140 yards of concrete a day, and it generally goes in consecutive days. And so I don't know the number, but we probably end up doing 300 or 400 feet of shoreline a day when we place concrete. So the concrete will go in across your backyard in one day. But all that other stuff is going to take time. And so each of the phase components takes approximately 75 days start to finish. So when we start in an area that we're going to call phase one, which let's say it's the Lakeview Basin kind of right there, when we start in there, it'll take roughly 3 months from start to finish. And we will be working in that area all the time.
Got it.
And they overlap. So as we're working in the one phase, we will be, at some point, we will start in the next phase, because once the demo gets done in phase one, it moves to phase two. And so, and then the other things follow, right? So we don't finish everything in phase one and then move to phase two. We will be progressing through one after another.
Okay, that's very helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I just ask a couple of quick questions? One is curiosity. The bottom of the lake, are you able to get machinery in there, or is it going to be soggy? Is that a problem?
We expect it to be firm pretty quickly. So right now, it may be a problem. Generally, the equipment that we'll have out there initially will be all on tracks, and so we probably could drive out there right now, even in 3 feet of water, and work. I mean, we do that on a pretty regular basis, but we need to be able to get trucks in, and we need to be able to get trucks out, and we can't have a wet, soggy bottom to do that. We walked a lot of the perimeter that's been dry, the dry bank that's exposed right now, and it's all pretty firm right now, all very firm.
I'm curious, and the other question I had was, once you get through a phase, you got the concrete poured, it's set up, whatever, can you start building docks then, or do you have to wait till you're completely done before we?
We'd prefer that you build the dock before we put the liner down. So we prefer that you build the dock because we don't want, like, if your dock guy wants to get with us, or however you're going to get this done, they want to access the work from inside the lake, the only way they can do that is they have to be on the lake bottom before the liner goes down, which means they need to be, when we're doing the kind of that demo prep phase is when they would be, we're going to get the dock out of the way, and then as soon as we have the shoreline installed, before we finish the liner on the bottom, that's when the docks are going to go back. Any work we do on docks is going to happen then.
When you said the shoreline installed, that means that you're going to pour the concrete?
Yes.
Okay, so then they can come in and start installing the docks once the concrete's set up, or they coordinate with you?
Yeah.
Got it, thank you.
So we will obviously continue to have these meetings, and as we get closer to that schedule, we will absolutely notify you of, hey, here's the start date to start your docks, and then we'll have an end date. So we'll communicate that with you guys.
Sorry I interrupted you there at the stage.
So on our schedule, just so like right now on our schedule, we're showing, docks in that phase 1 area would go back in February, mid-February. So that would be the phase 1 area docks.
But I just would caution you, don't make any scheduling until we really are definitive on that date.
We'll have the dock guy coordinate with your... Sorry.
Hi, Brian Bailing again from Dawn Lake. Bill, on June 30th, you sent an email to both Jerry Dykstra, our president, and me, saying our drain plan does not include Dawn Lake, period.
Yes, I get that. So if I would prefer that we not have a discussion about this legal suit here. If you have a discussion, if you want to have a discussion, we should have that through our legal team. So I'm not going to answer any questions.
About
we have a plan right now that may require us to put water into Dawn Lake through the system that's already in place, and that has not been determined yet. But that's something, if we don't do, will delay this project.
Again, this has nothing to do with any lawsuit. This has to do with a request that we made of you after we heard the plan to use Dawn Lake as a dumping place for the dregs of Viewpoint. And so I'd like to ask a question about that. Have you tested the water for E. coli or algae? Is it going to be?
We have tested the water. We haven't tested it recently.
We use the water on our golf course right now. So we're pumping the water on our golf course. So there's people golfing and our employees that are around wherever that water has been pumped.
We allow swimming in Dawn Lake, and we test for E. coli regularly. So it's safe water. We know that. We don't know what's coming, what you think is coming from your lake. But you're not willing to say that.
Yes, we have tested it, but we've tested the water, but our tests were primarily for what Glendale required for soil testing, but we have water tests on it, and we haven't tested it in the last, I don't know, 45 days probably. We'd have to go back and look.
So when do you think you might want to pump water into Dawn Lake?
We're working through lake pumping plans now, and it could happen soon.
How soon is soon?
In the next 10 days.
Okay.
Mr. Wallen, if I may address your comments regarding water testing. RCSC has tested the water in the lake and has done so annually. It's usually done in the December time period. The E. coli results from those tests have never been anything other than negligible. So historically, there has not been a problem with E. coli, and we have tested. We just have not tested since December.
Algae? Any testing for algae?
Not that I'm aware of.
Do we have any more questions?
Yeah. Jerome Ida, 115630. I was wondering about the fish that's left in the lake. Are we going to be giving them away, or are we going to put them in Youngstown Lake, or what? So the people from Sun City can fish them. Where you've been putting them, Desert Harbor, nobody can fish them. It's private.
I don't know.
We're planning on putting some up in the lagoon. We just have to see what's actually left and how much the lagoon can hold.
Okay.
So that's the plan right now.
So it'll be fishable for the public.
No, the lagoons, you cannot fish in the lagoons.
That's nice. What about Youngstown Lake? We can fish in there. Youngstown Lake, yeah. That's public.
Well, we're trying to do the most cost-effective way to move the fish. So if we can actually keep the fish and put them in our lagoons for people to enjoy while they're swimming and to watch the fish, that's what we would prefer.
They catch them. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like when the Sportsman Club and the RCS pays for this fish, the public here should be able to fish them.
I did reach out to the city manager at Youngstown, and he never got back to me about putting fish there. So.
In Youngstown?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try to call him. Thank you.
Any other questions? Sure. Director Collins.
Thank you. My question is, I've gone around the lake, and you get down to a certain level, and then our liner's there. And we're changing the slope, so it's going to go out further before it reaches the depth that now the liner is whole. I'm wondering how we're going to have more area to protect from the sun. I guess the sun is what deteriorated it, correct?
The liner that we're using is a UV stable liner that can be exposed forever. It doesn't ever have to have any cover over it. So the liner that will be installed is a UV stable product and won't degrade if it was exposed to sunlight. We have the new shoreline detail has a similar water depth before you get to exposed liner, even though the shoreline is higher. We actually have a concrete bench that goes across the top, whereas right now, the concrete on the current shoreline is only on the near vertical. The new shoreline will have a shorter, about half the height of near vertical, and then it'll transition to go through a hinge point where it becomes the lake bottom or lake floor, and that lake floor has about a 10-foot bench of concrete on it. So when that concrete stops, it's pretty much the same elevation that the concrete stops today. It's just in a different location, if that makes sense.
Okay. And I heard something earlier. I think the last meeting or one of the meetings you said that in this, where the fish habitat is going to be, you're going to put concrete down first and then put the fish habitat on it. I think that was what somebody was talking here, that they heard you saying, but I think it was concrete you were going to place.
Yeah, we put the liner down, and then we put concrete down. Right. Then we put the fish habitat material on top of that.
That's what I thought. I think that's what the lady was talking about.
All right, so the entire bottom of the lake is covered with liner. Across the bottom of the lake, the side slopes of the lake, the shoreline of the lake, to an elevation a foot above water level. That's all lined, and then the shoreline has concrete on it, and the fish habitat areas have concrete on it, and everything else is exposed.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you again for all of your patience. We greatly appreciate it. We're getting there, so hopefully, we'll probably have another one of these meetings whenever these guys feel like they've made some progress and we can actually have some good information for you. So keep looking for, notifications on that next meeting, okay? So thanks again. We appreciate it.
any written production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.